It's a little late in the year for this sort of stuff to come out, but over at ESPN, they've got someone taking a look at some of the quarterbacks in the SEC, and they're talking about anonymous coaches telling them what they think about the quarterbacks. I would have run this early in the summer, but that's me. And one coach says, well, I'll just read the whole thing. It says, Stetson Bennett. Bennett is back after helping his team to its first national championship since 1980. He's almost reflexively overlooked by fans and some media while continuing to gain strong reviews from opposing coaches. I would say some media is one way to put it. Um, I think he's virtually forgotten unless you're talking about Georgia, frankly. But how many of these guys I can read to you right now? Have you heard of Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker? These are all guys that are mentioned before Stetson, and those guys are good NFL prospects for sure. Hendon Hooker, I don't know if he's an NFL prospect necessarily in terms of being a long-term guy, but people won't stop talking about him. And he had one very good season at Tennessee, and he had one not unbelievable season at Virginia Tech. So there's a lot of fascination with him. Uh, here's what um, here's what one coach said about Stetson. He says, "Is he Bryce Young? No, but the dude is good enough with his feet, smart enough to extend plays," said an SEC defensive coordinator. He plays within himself. One person that's classified as an SEC coach, that could mean an assistant or a head coach, says that Bennett is disrespected. I think he definitely is disrespected. And I think that term is overused. I think the term dude should be eliminated from the vocabulary of football coaches. I don't know when we started saying that. That's just not that's a weird phrase. Um, but okay. I think disrespected is overused often. I think you got guys like Dabo Sweeney crying all the time about Clemson, poor little Clemson or whatever he calls it. There's no one's disrespecting programs that like that. But I think as it relates to Stetson Bennett, sometimes he doesn't get the praise that he should from Georgia fans. I mean, it's silly. But as I've explained to people consistently, this is what it is. I mean, it's not going to change. And what's also not going to change is the fact that Stetson Bennett, haters, get your keyboards ready. Stetson Bennett led Georgia to the national championship in 2021. That's not changing. Yeah, the defense did too. They 100% did. Which one was more important? The defense. But the quarterback of the Georgia Bulldogs, the guy that got them the lead back after he surrendered the lead, was Stetson Bennett. And he went for 2,862 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions a season ago. Uh, that's playing really well. Um, what the term disrespected, again, disrespect, whatever, it's overused. I think this is one of the rare cases that it could be correct. But I think we need to have an understanding here as well, which is that uh, if you're the coach at Georgia, you're going to get questioned. If you are the starting quarterback of the Georgia Bulldogs, you are going to get beat up constantly by fans, by media, by whoever. I will tell a quick story from the weekend. There, I am I am family friends with someone who married a football player at a very large school. They got married over the summer, and that person was in the spotlight quite a bit during their time playing college football. And at one point, his wife went up to someone in the stands I guess in the student section, and confronted them about saying something about her future husband. Uh, and this is just what it is. I mean, like, I don't think you should do that. I would advise against that. But if you are David Green or Shock or Matthew or Aaron, who got it worse than anybody, you're gonna be criticized, and a lot of times you're going to be criticized incorrectly. Stetson Bennett gets it maybe worse than anybody other than Aaron, but this is what goes along with y'all. There are people that hate on me constantly. It doesn't matter though, and that's the easy part for me. I'm 45 years old. I'm used to this. When you're younger, you're not. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The shipment for the new books is going to go out this week. If you buy it, you get our 2022 preview just in time for the start of the season while supplies last. I cannot guarantee at this stage that you will get the book and the magazine. So make sure you're getting it now, so that you don't miss out on getting this. The other place you will be able to purchase these, I know, probably this weekend, is Red Zone in Athens. Thank you to everybody who's bought these, and thank you for those of you who are considering it. Stetson has not the it is incorrect to discount his role on the 21 season. Um, I think, although I'm not sure, time will tell. I think this season, it is likely that he will add to his clout um, during his time at Georgia. I think people will look back on Stetson differently than they are in this moment. And that's what we do, generally speaking, with presidents. That's what we do with Georgia quarterbacks, I know. Um, but I was around long enough for the Aaron Murray stuff. And I mean, that was bad, man. I mean, so I think the hard part here is someone in their 20s dealing with the consistent criticism of people who are not qualified to say so, that someone isn't good enough to do something. And I am certainly not qualified to say if he should be the starting quarterback of Georgia or not. I don't see the practices. I see blurbs of the practices. It's very limited. Um, but I think that I really get annoyed with the term disrespect, because I think it's overused and therefore dilutes the word. I do wonder if it is appropriately used here, because Stetson. Think about the games where he played well. Okay, was he the reason they beat Auburn? I don't know, but he really played well in that game. 14 to 21, 231 yards, two touchdowns, six runs for 41 yards, including that 30-yarder. Was he the reason they beat Kentucky 30 to 13? He was 14 of 20, 250 yards, three touchdowns throwing, another three runs for 22 yards. Those are really good numbers. Was he the reason they beat Tennessee? I would say James Cook was the reason they beat Tennessee, but if we're singling into one thing, 17 to 29, 213, the throw to James for the touchdown, eight rushes for 40 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's really good. Was he the reason they beat Michigan? I would say you could make the argument he was the reason they beat Michigan. 20 of 30, 313, three touchdowns, three runs for 32 yards. Y'all, it adds up. I mean, that's a lot of really good play. So I think we're talking about a person that people view as undersized. The fact that he was a walk-on, that he continues to find his way as the starter when there are multiple five-star players around him. I think there's part of it is there's a difference here. I mean, hero worship is really dangerous, and then the term disrespect is really dangerous too. I think they're both, like, there's a medium. he did not play well against Florida. 10 to 19, 161, two interceptions, 6 runs for 35 yards. That's pretty good. But he didn't play well. But the one throw to Kieras came close to ending that game. I mean, as it turns out, the Gators only scored a touchdown. But the defense really ended that. That was really the worst game he played. I think in 20, there were way more times he didn't play well, in 2020. When you look at the Alabama game, 18 of 40 for three interceptions, that's not going to work. I mean, that's the worst game he played in his career, I think. Against Kentucky, he was not great. 9 of 13 for 131. And then against Florida that year, where he got hurt, I should add. 5 of 16 for 78 yards, touchdown, and interception. I think the worst game he played was against Alabama, which was an extremely good Alabama team. But is Stetson disrespected? I don't know. I do not disrespect him. I know what he's at. I also don't hero worship him. I mean, you have to call it like you see it, like in reality. There can't really be an emotional investment in these players. I think that way too often it is the extremes. But I will say I think that he has been beaten up on way more than he deserves. Um, you know, he is the only quarterback that can go back to back this year. He's the only one. That will never happen for Bryce Young. He's going to have to come back in 2023, and that's not going to happen. So, uh, do people remember the quarterback at Alabama whose name I've forgotten that won back to back national championships? I'm sure they do in Tuscaloosa. I'm sure Nick Saban does. AJ McCarron. Was he great? I don't know. He's got 2 national championships.